Hey guys, Sandy here, and today I am using a sketch from Shimelle.com to scrapbook a layout about my love of steak. I have this big chipboard word that I got in my Secret Not Secret Kit Club kit. I'm going to use some embossing powder, so let's see what I can do. So the first thing I've done is taken my background stamp, which is from Echo Park. It's a bunch of stars, and I'm just using some Versamark ink, which is a very sticky ink, great for embossing. I just went ahead and applied that to my stamp. I flipped my stamp platform over, and now you're going to be able to see all the stars with the Versamark ink once I go ahead and place that gold embossing powder on there. Now, my background stamp was not large enough to ink the entire word at once, so what I did was cut it off at a good part where I can apply the rest of the stamp easily. So just going to dump that embossing powder back into the tub, and then I'm going to use my heat gun and go ahead and heat the stars until they are nice and melted. And I gotta say, I love embossing. It's one of the most fun things to do. I love watching the changes in the dry, loose powder melting and getting into that nice, smooth texture on top. It's just a lot of fun to watch. As you can see, I went ahead and got that finished. Now I'm just going to arrange my chipboard word onto my stamp platform where I can easily go ahead and finish stamping up the rest of that word. So I went ahead and did that, pressed it down nice and good, and then all I'm going to do here is drop on a little bit more embossing powder and then go ahead and heat that until it is smooth and melted. I'll get this cleaned up and then get onto the page. So at this point I'm thinking that I might just leave the chipboard word like this with just the white background and the gold stars, but as you can see later on, it's not exciting enough for me, and I go ahead and change that up. So I've pulled this piece of paper from my carousel paper pad, and then I also have this My Mind's Eye paper that I had picked up at Hobby Lobby in like a 25 pack. So I have no qualms about using it and getting it used up. Now, as I'm following the sketch, basically what I'm doing is creating it straight up and down. So the sketch is on an angle, but what I'm doing is creating my layout straight, and then once all the layers are together and glued down, then I'm just going to turn it to that little angle and slap it down on the page with some ATG. So I have this huge washi tape from Michaels. It's from the Recollections collection, and I really like it. It's really transparent though. So what I have here is a sheet of 12 by 12 paper that is not really my favorite, and I use it as white layers, or I also use it in this way to place some washi tape down so that I can use the washi tape and you won't see right on through it. So I'm going to go ahead here and trim this down. And I just go ahead and do that on both sides so that I have this straight block of washi tape. And there it is. Now this does go the length of 12 by 12, so I am going to have to trim a little bit off the edge. And then there was a little bit of white paper showing through, so I didn't trim it exactly correctly, so I went ahead and did that as well. I'm going to layer that right over top of this floral paper here, after I trim it down just ever so slightly. And this is a busy pattern going over top of a busy pattern, and I'm okay with it. Just have to straighten that up because it obviously was not straight. And then again, I'm trimming off just a little bit. Now this is also from the Carousel paper pad, and this is a glitter treated paper. So I go ahead and figure out where that's going to go. And lifting it up and placing it down. I gotta tell you, one day I will actually know my layers and the order that they should go in so that there will be no lifting up and pulling down. One day, I swear, it'll happen. So I'm just kind of messing around, trying to figure out what's going to go where. And then I decide that I need another layer of patterned paper. So I go to my scraps and I'm thinking, what can I add here? I want something pretty plain because I do have two busy patterns going on, and I do have a stripe, which is, you know, it's not a black and white stripe, so it's not super bold, but it is bold. And I'm just going to go ahead and use this basil cardstock and figure out where I want it to go. And we're just lifting and moving, and I at first thought I was going to have it overlap the floral paper onto the black stars, but I decided not to. I decided that it needed to be matted inside of this floral paper. I really like the look of that, having that floral peek out from underneath of the pink cardstock here. And then I decided that it needed to come down a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and add a piece here, and then realize that that piece was way too large, so I picked the smaller scrap and just tucked it under there. So nobody would know that I have all of these pieces that are cut apart and not full pieces underneath of my layout, unless you're watching the scrapbook video. And then if you're going to judge me, I'm going to be like, hey, go ahead and judge me, but I'm being smart here. Like, I got this. So I just keep kind of tilting it a little bit just to see. I'm thinking that this striped paper is a good way to figure out what I'm going to color on, because you get the same effect by looking at the paper with the stripes and the distress ink. Now, this distress ink went on beautifully. Look how dark and beautiful that is with that gold embossing on it. I just really love this. So the first thing I used on here was peacock feathers, and that is definitely has the blue tint to it, and I'm just going to go ahead and get that evenly covered over this entire word. And I gotta say, I really love this. Now, when I put it over top of this paper, it was very blue and the paper looked very green. So I grabbed some evergreen bough and I just went ahead and layered right over top of the peacock feathers just to take that teal and bring out the green a little bit in it. And I'm totally happy with how this turned out. I'm super glad I didn't leave it white, because even though I thought it was really cool with it left in white, I really love the color on here. I think I still have some other of these large chipboard words, and I want to try using one with like a Spectrum Noir shimmer pen and then embossing over top of it so that it's white but it's glittery and embossed and shiny. So I'm going to figure out how to do that. So I just took a paper towel here just to rub some of the distress ink off of the gold embossing like powder that's there. And then I had some sticky, so I just rubbed that off and made little ATG snot boogers, which is what happens when you rub your ATG glue off. It turns into little glue boogers. So there we go. I went ahead and placed this right on down over top of that washi tape. And like I said, there is a lot of busyness going on right there, and I am totally okay with it. If you don't like such busyness, then go ahead and use some solids there or something with a much subtler pattern where I use that washi tape. Then I went and pulled out these gold thickers, and these thickers have lasted a long time. I received them in, I believe, a citrus twist kit a couple months ago, and they just keep allowing me to make title after title after title, and that makes me super happy. Now I pulled out these die cuts, and these die cuts are from, let me flip it over because I have it written down. These die cuts are from We Are Memory Keepers. And at first I thought I was going to go ahead and use this banner, excuse me, because it had that pinky peach color in it and a little bit of teal, and then it brought in some of this purple, which I'm bringing in with these flowers. However, I decide not to go with the banner and just go with the florals. And I think that that was a good decision. So I'm flipping through the die cuts and just trying to figure out how I want to layer things up and bring the florals in, and just checking to see what other little bits and things that are there. So I found this teal flower and I was like, this is perfect. And I just moved the floral with the purple up to the top, and then I also have another floral that I'm going to tuck in here at the bottom. Now I'm just ever so slightly inking the edges of the flowers with the Peacock Feathers Distress ink just to soften that harsh white edge around all of the die cuts. And I found this little fan thing that I'm thinking I want to add, but honestly I don't remember if it makes it on or not. So now that I have my base all set, I'm going to go ahead and tip it over until it is on its slant. And now I'm going to go ahead and add the die cuts. Some of them I'm just going to use my ATG to place them down, and then some of them I'm actually going to use some foam squares and pop them up. And just to get those little teeny pieces of the leaves, I decided to use one of the foam squares and cut it. And then that way, none of the foam is poking out and you still get to see the dimension that the foam square uses. I decide that this floral is going to go better here at the bottom, and I'm going to tuck it under the photo. And I just cut a slit between the leaves so that some of the die cut can be under the paper layers in the photo and some can be over top. Now this one I decided needed some dimension as well. I didn't want it to be as high as that flower that I just used pop dots on, so I went ahead and used a smaller pop dot, or they're not even really pop dots, they're foam squares. I used a smaller one, which is not just the size of the square is smaller, but the height of the foam is also smaller. And I'm just trying to figure out if that fan's going to make it in there or not. I honestly can't remember. I guess it does. Or do I pull it out? Well, it's there for now. So we will see, won't we? I'm just going through the die cuts one more time to see if anything should go there, and no, it doesn't. I pull it out. I must not have been too happy with it at the time. I'm just going ahead and adding a little bit more glue down to my layers so they don't swing up. And I'm looking to see if I want to add some of these glitter hearts, and I'm thinking at first, yes I do. I'm thinking I definitely should add some glitter hearts. However, they don't make it either. And then I was like, oh, a glitter gold geotag, that'll go. And I couldn't find a good place for it to nestle. Like it just wasn't working for me. So skip that idea too. I wonder how many times you guys do that same thing where you think you have a great idea and you're like, yes, it's going to work. I like it. It makes sense to me in my head, like it goes to the story, but it doesn't work. How many times does that happen to you guys? So what I did do was pull out these puffy hearts, and it does say Citrus Twist Kits on the backer paper, but honestly, that is just a backer paper I adhered these to. These hearts actually came from Target's cheap area, that dollar spot area. I'm using 3 different shades of hearts. So I have a dark pink, a lighter pink, and white. And I'm using them in 3 different sizes and just creating little groupings of them by the flowers. And that works for me. And then I think these flowers need a little bit of something as well. At first I was thinking about grabbing a shimmer pen and just adding a little bit of sparkle to them. However, I decided instead to go with some enamel dots and just jazz up the die cuts ever so slightly by putting the enamel dots in. Now, those I'd pulled out quickly because I thought I was going to put some gold enamel dots in the center. Just because steak is in gold, I felt like gold was on one place of my page, so I should probably add it to a second. Now, it actually never got added to a second part of the page. It is only on that one. And I decided that I liked that because it really is steak, and I love steak, so there we go. Now, I had messed around with a couple letters to say, oh, how I love steak, or something like that, but it just didn't fit in the space, and I didn't like the way it looked, so the title simply is Love Steak. All right, got those enamel dots there in my florals, and I almost brought in these black gemstones because I thought just a little extra touch of the darker black would be awesome. However, they do not work out. I do not like them at all. I feel like I'm in a Dr. Seuss book. I do not like them here or there. I do not like them anywhere. So that just didn't work for me. But I am looking at this and I'm thinking it needs something, and I'm just trying to figure out what. So I decided to go to my mists, and I grabbed the white Heidi Swapp Color Shine, and I block off the photos a little bit and just go ahead and add some. Now this Color Shine I have not used in a long time, and all the pigment was stuck at the bottom, and I shook and I shook and I rolled and I mixed and I tapped, and this thing turned out that I did so much shaking and so much mixing around that the pigment did mix up well, but it was very bubbly. There was a lot of air bubbles in it. So I just got those placed down, and that is going to wrap up this page. Thanks so much for sticking with me so far for Follow a Sketch February, guys. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss another sketch process video. If you like the video, go ahead, give it a thumbs up. If you want to talk to me, go ahead and leave a comment below. I do love this community that we have here on YouTube. And what else do I want to say? Oh, guys, if you are playing along with me, please use the hashtag on your social media, hashtag FASFEB2018.